Dude, my roommate in Toronto, he would literally, I would walk into the room, he had a out and just jerking to porn. Then he would make eye contact when he entered the room, and he would just keep going. He
What?
wouldn't stop. I swear to God. Dude, I remember my other roommate walked in once because we had to do some shit on the computer, and he just kept going. Like he was sitting, no, that time he was actually under the blanket, but you would just see the blanket move like this. Every once in a while, he would like throw a glance to see if everyone's watching. Oh man.
So he had no shame?
Nah, I was like, that was pretty ballsy. Because I felt I would have just lost the erection entirely and just been like, man, I need some privacy. This is just not working. You're watching. You know? But I think it's fucking, yeah, ballsy to just be so comfortable with your own sexuality.
Yeah.
We can discuss that. I mean, there's a lack of self-awareness in this, I feel like. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends. It depends on the place where it's coming from.
Yeah. This reminds me, my friend yesterday, he's in a relationship with this lady and they're really exploring deep traumas and expectations and everything you can encounter in a relationship. But they're going so far that it's now, or this is my interpretation, that it's getting crazy because she is in some kind of group where they admire the triggers. They're like, oh, a trigger is such a good thing to show you where you have shame or whatever. So she's in these groups and they decided on, for example, the other day on let's pee our pants. Like you would have done as a child, right? You just urinate in your trousers and see what you feel. So they're doing all these kind of exercises to kind of see where they have this feeling of, no, this can't be. And he told me a story that his girlfriend now, she has a real shame on being on the toilet, and then your boyfriend is there and he walks into the toilet as well, you know, if it's a bathroom. And peeing, if you do that peeing, that's okay. But if you're having a poop, that's not okay. So she expressed that, and they're in this thing of triggering each other and seeing how you feel. So she was pooping the other day, and he walked in, and he just stood there next to her, and she was triggered, like, you know, amazingly triggered, but not like reacting to him like go away, but just like internally went like, holy, this is so triggering for me. And he was like, yeah, I can see it. I will be standing here because I think this is good for you to feel this. And then they decided on making it even worse. And when she was done, she showed her ass to him without, you know, cleaning it first. So just the and he was explaining this, how triggering this situation was, and I just went like, oh my god, I don't know what to think of this. It depends on which place it comes from, but I don't know what the purpose is of this. But it has a similar.
That's what Leo did on his first date.
I hadn't eat or like today, and I feel I'll keep with that decision. Thanks for thanks for sharing.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just poop, right? It's just whatever it is, you know. It's a hand, it's an arm, it's hair, it's, you know, we freak out for the most basic.
Isn't also the fantasy something that in itself, not the fantasy in terms of something that is not real, but the fantasy of things that you don't know that well, or things that you haven't experienced, that creates a more a deeper experience. Or how can I explain that? I don't even know how to explain that. I need to formulate that further. But like, dude, this topic, it triggers me.
Yeah.
It triggers me because
Congratulations.
this sounds so out there for me, like just so out there. Why would you poke a bear, you know, just to see how far he can go? Like, why?
No, I relate. I actually relate to what they were doing, and I feel like I've started to do this in like a less, in a more controlled way. Not as like I didn't go that far, but just like little things where, let's say, with my roommates, right? I feel there is some sort of distance between us, and I don't feel potentially super comfortable just being myself. Like when I'm at my place at home and I'm alone, I would just like walk out of the shower naked, go into my room, get dressed, right? No problem. But here, that's a little different, and so I kind of started to slowly implement those things to just be like, hey, this is me, because I feel I'm stifling myself based on their potential perception of me. Does that make sense? And that's why I can totally relate to what they were doing, because I feel like it just helps you be really okay with you in every single moment. And back then with my girlfriend, I wanted to do, well, it wasn't like show me, but it was more like being okay if I was in the bathroom, like that she wouldn't feel uncomfortable. And I would like assert or like constantly make it clear that there shouldn't be shame around that. Like that's a normal thing. We all need to poop, right? That is human. And I obviously, there's a fine line, I guess, between forcing it and it naturally happening. But I know that when you feel that comfortable, like the sooner you can do that, the more I feel fulfilling the relationship in itself is. So the sooner you can, because it's just around, like it's fears, right? That there's just control that, or like, oh, I can't show that side of me yet. That's usually kind of the thought process I witnessed in myself.
But so my question would be, is this about you or about others? Because I would be like, what makes me feel tightened about this is that this is only about you. This is not taking into account other people. Like if I'm living with someone and like he's constantly walking naked around the house, like I don't feel comfortable with that, you know.
Not constantly. It's just like the moment where I feel I'm really not being myself out of fear of judgment. Yeah, obviously, if I was just like nudisting around here in the house from now on with his girlfriend here, you know, that'd be weird. But just like when it's just us, I feel the natural thing is to just want to be yourself. And so I'm kind of finding these moments where I'm really going against myself. And that's usually maybe a couple of. What?
This is interesting. This is interesting because the choice of being and not being yourself is not real, I think. It's always a like the choice of being or not being yourself, that doesn't exist. Like what I've been telling like some of the guys here for sometimes, just like, how can you not be yourself? Naked or not naked, you know? why does it walking around after shower naked in your
Sure,
house makes you more you?
maybe then it's a different sort of thing. Instead of being yourself, it's about the freedom that being yourself actually results in. And that freedom you don't experience when you consciously make a decision not to act out something that you would normally be doing because of fear, because of that. So the freedom, okay, whatever. I feel
I get what you mean. Like, in that sense, I see it very simple, right? I put my towel around my waist because somewhere inside I don't want other people or roommates to see my. And why am I afraid of that, right? Why don't I want that? That's because of judgment. That's not because. Or maybe I feel insecure about my. That is a possibility as well. So I can see and I understand the kind of search in that with people to go like, yeah, but I shouldn't censor myself, you know? I shouldn't censor. It's great. It's part of me. I like me. And then, of course, there is the idea of other people finding that uncomfortable, which is an illusion because that's my idea. Like if Leo says, I don't like you doing that, okay, then we have something concrete. Okay, great.
exactly. So until it is an actual concrete thing, it's just like
It's
a fear, probably based on some experience you've had.
Yeah.
Based in your past, where someone laughed at you, or someone said, "When you're naked, oh man, you're skinny, you're ugly, whatever it is," and you feel uncomfortable just being exactly who you are naturally, and finding those limits. And actually, yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting point that you made, where you wait actually until someone says something, and it's not you anticipating constantly, oh, they're probably not going to like this about me, they're probably not going to like this about me, and constantly already trying to prevent some sort of conflict, right, where a person says, I don't like this, can you please change that? But I don't want to do this anymore, where I'm imagining shit that's not real, and constantly constraining my own actions, my own behavior, and the way I live life. Right? So.
We can go really deep into this. Like I understand the part of this coming in the moment, but I also don't think it's important. Like I don't think it's important in that sense. Like why? So for example, in this case of this couple, right? Like there are so many things that are going to trigger them, and they are never going to stop. And these triggers can be created by new triggers because they experience others. But I also feel at the same time that we are ruled by some natural things, you know, like there are some things. Let me give you an example. I can tell you as a progressive guy that it's like super feminist and whatever, that I'm super like this, and that a man shouldn't be like this or a man shouldn't be like that. But how much that mental idea of how things is or not, in terms of attractiveness or like feeling good with another person, how much of that mental thing plays into the role of actually being concrete. So, for example, I can say that, oh, I want a girl that is vulnerable, I want a girl that is like this or like that, blah, 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 blah. And when she actually is like that, internally, this emotion just not, that doesn't, not comply, but that doesn't follow the same, mentalization of that. Like, how much of that is actually real or not? For example, is these things that they are doing and triggering each other going to make the relationship better? or it's going to make it worse. You know, how far is how far you can go? What is the purpose? Like,
that's a real question I have with that as well. But at the same time, I see their phase in life, which is very much this phase, and they are literally putting all brakes loose. So you could say, okay, you know, I get triggered because I don't wear a mask going to the supermarket, and I get all these people saying I should wear a mask. This was really triggering for me, and I noticed afterwards that I did it because I wanted that trigger, because there was this in me that was like, this is my opinion, I'm gonna do it, and I actually know that I'm gonna be triggered because this is a very high intense situation. And it learned me so much about myself, actually, the other day, because it was me that was already triggered before it happening, right? I was already thinking about these people saying, oh, you can't exit the supermarket, you can't go in here, la la. I had all these lines in my head which I would say that made me come across powerful, or maybe I could go into the supermarket. So I see these people, you know, you can say that goes too far, that is allowed, or whatever it is that you want to explore, and especially like, what does it do with you? What is the purpose? I don't know if we know beforehand, you know. And for one person, this goes too far. For the other person is like, and so my friend is really like that, like no breaks, which is very scary as well. Like, I don't do that, but like no breaks, so everything is just pure, you know, like, oh my God, looking at your poop is so triggering. I'm gonna just stay here inside crazy triggering emotion. And this gives them a color of, you know, a color of what the fuck is going on with their ideas about how things should be, you know. Like, you can't see, you know, you can see poop on the internet, right, on pictures, but not in real life. Oh my God! Like, what is that about? You know, that can be anywhere. Masks in the supermarket, about sex, about being naked in the house, about, it's around every corner. And it's so interesting because nothing is going on, right? It's all just, you know.
Well, wouldn't you say that the common denominator of all these things is that we're seeking a level of unconditional acceptance, like the deepest level of acceptance there is. And because most of us didn't get that as children, that now everyone's like, hey, how can I become, in a sense, whole again? That's what they want to feel, because they feel they've these little pieces and they can't be like this with that person. They can't show that part of themselves with that person. So they're constantly juggling all these different things and just wanting to fucking let all that go and still be okay. And that's the reason for me why I feel that's behind, and that's why I said freedom, to just be exactly who I am. But then there's still this other stuff that's so strong, traumas and whatever it is, that make it seem like it's not okay yet, right? And that's why you feel like you go against that.
aren't your traumas part of the whole? How can you not be yourself with or without traumas? You know, how does that even change you?
Well, sure, it is there, but that's why I said it makes it appear as if there is a split, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is you can't, like, an emotion just arises really strongly, right? Sure, I can say consciously, hell yeah, this is part of the whole, man, this trauma is also me. But I'm still feeling scared shitless in that situation, and that fear would prevent me from doing a certain thing. Like not talk to this girl, right?
But isn't that the fear alone? Like the fact that you are creating this idea behind fear, which is stopping you, and not actually the source of the fear. Like you can face the situation in terms of you go there and you feel like, okay, like, there's the girl, I want to go and talk to her, but you know, I've rejected so many times, you know, whatever, in whatever time, and so on and so forth, and be like, okay, I need to be able to not feel this fear because of everything that happened before. And this is a situation, right? The other situation is like, wow, I'm afraid now. Cool, let's go.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
what we're doing. That's what
but
they're doing. They're afraid of showing that, and so they're going to do it anyways because they feel the fear.
But the meaning behind it, I would say they will lead you to different perspectives in terms of if you feel there's something to swipe off, something to understand, then there will be always something to understand. You know, like and not to say that there are things that are not important for you to look at, like this. Of course, it is important, but it's just important when they come up. You know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think what you're trying to say is that if we're constantly trying to, understand where what is coming from, and then we're constantly recreating that situation just so we can, is that what you're saying, right? And I notice these things in hindsight when I'm like, why did I feel uncomfortable doing this? Right? And then I do it because I'm like, wait, there was something where I clearly felt I was not being myself. I felt a constriction. I acted differently than because I was not, like, I didn't make a conscious decision to say, yeah, okay, this is what's going on. I need to act this way. No, it just happened. And then it's like, oh, why did this happen? And next time when I feel it spontaneously in the moment, I'm just going to be okay with it and do it anyways.